And welcome to this video where we will be following up with the video 5 where we have spoken about security controls framework. In this video, we will be extending the concept particularly in the domain of cybersecurity. NIST has proposed a cybersecurity framework in which they have split the controls based on the function to which it applies. And by function, it means whether the function is for identity, to protect, to detect, to respond, or to recover. So the controls are applied specifically to each function. Standing on the functions, they have also created different implementation groups where critical security controls are merged so that it is easy for an organization to decide which particular implementation group to choose for which particular scenario. Like any other framework, NIST cybersecurity framework also undergoes updates, and at the moment, as of the time of recording of this video, the version 2.0 is in existence. It is no different from the previous versions. However, the big difference is that the taxonomy has been now enriched to include high-level cybersecurity outcomes because of the evolving nature of the cybersecurity and how organizations should deal with it. This high-level taxonomy should help organizations to better understand, assess, prioritize, and communicate its cybersecurity effort. You can find the more details about the framework by simply typing NIST Cybersecurity Framework 2.0 and you will be taken to the page with the PDF version where you can find more details about it. For any security framework, including for cybersecurity, the controls which has been applied to manage the framework is of paramount importance. The three very distinct control categories in that regard are administrative controls, which are also called directives in certain parlances, technical controls, and the physical controls. Administrative controls, for example, deals with your organization policies and procedure. What is your policy to invite an external vendor? What is your policy to onboard an external vendor into your data center? So these are administrative controls. Also deals with regulation, training and awareness of the evolving cybersecurity threats. Technical controls, on the other hand, as the name suggests, are hardcore technical in nature to deal with your hardwares, operating system, implementation of your firewalls, IDS and IPSs, what kind of encryption that you are choosing for your industry. Physical controls are dealing with, as the name suggests, more physical in nature. That is, the locks, fences, security guards, dogs, and bollards, the small pole kind of a structure that has been erected in front of offices, data center, in the city centers. Those are basically physical controls that helps an organization manage security. And there are a lot of examples about it that you can see in the given slide. Further extending to those access control, they also carry distinct nature. For example, some of them are preventive in terms of technical controls, IDSs, intrusion detection and prevention systems are preventive in nature. Some of them are corrective. For example, patching your system, running an updated antivirus. the detective, which is more related to monitoring in order to see what's going on, for example, in and around your office. Recovery is something when there is a system failure and you need to bring your system up to date. So, for example, it could be a backup failure, it could be an air conditioner failure in your data center. Deterrent controls are basically to give a message to an attacker that it's being deterrent to attack or to engage in unlawful activities. So, for example, putting a notice board in front of your gate that unauthorized access is not allowed. Should you do that still after reading, you are liable for a lawful case. And there are also compensating controls, which are adding as a prop or a backup kind of controls to your existing control, which help you try to make your main controls watertight. During the exam, you may have a scenario or situation where a control may fall into more than one category. So please pay great attention to those aspects when you read the question. In terms of framework and applying the control, the responsibility of due diligence and due care is always been of utmost importance. We have seen in the previous videos of this domain, and we have talked about due care and due diligence, but it is important that we reiterate and repeat this concept in terms of security control frameworks and applied controls. Due care is also called as prudent person rule, which means what a prudent person would have been done in a scenario, something also expected for you to do while conducting your business. That means, for example, follow the security policies to the letter. So if it says that all your critical system must have a multi-factor authentication, then it is you who have to make sure that all your critical system have multi-factor authentications. Due diligence is more about maintaining the due care. For example, when you are bringing a new critical system, you have to make sure that the ability to have a multi-factor authentication in that critical system is already been thought of, built, tested before you bring the system live. In both the cases of due care and due diligence, negligence plays a very important antagonistic role. So, for example, if you have followed all the procedures and policies to the letter, still there is a system failure, you may not be held liable. However, if you have not followed the procedures and policies as mandated by your organization and managed to do intentionally or unintentionally an act of unlawfulness, you should and you shall be held liable, which will be contrary to analogous to due care. Therefore, it is important that you pay great attention to this concept of due care and due diligence. This is a highly testable concept in the exam, so make sure that the distinction between these two terms and what is analogous to it, that is negligence, and when you may or may not be held liable, is very clear to you. I'll stop here. Thank you very much and keep learning.